Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Todd Klindt's SharePoint podcast number 292, recorded live Monday, May 9th, 2016. I am your host, the one, the only, well, not quite true. We'll get to that later. Todd Klindt. I'll be your host for this show today. I know we've had some dark ages where there were inferior hosts. I don't want to name any names, and nobody wins there. But you got me. You're stuck with me for the next half hour or so, and we'll go on this journey we call SharePoint together. And while we're doing that, you can go out to sharepoint.rackspace.com, see all the great things that we do. That is, that's my bread and my butter. We're going to talk about that a little bit later too. And so go to sharepoint.rackspace.com to find out all the great things we do around SharePoint. And then we do all kinds of other things. And you can go to rackspace.com/Microsoft to hear about those. For production notes, as of about 25 minutes ago, I was all caught up with all my back production. So I was on the road, I think 6 out of the last 8 weeks, something like that. And both of the last 2 weeks or something, I forget, it's been crazy. And so I got a little behind on my production. But as of right now, as of 4/11 Central Standard Time, May 9th, 2016 CE, I am all caught up on video, all caught up in MP3, all caught up on blog posts for all of the back episodes. So it's all out there. You can't miss it. I'm not on the road. I have no legitimate excuses this week. So this one should be out as soon as possible. Other than that, everything's been going along swimmingly. Again, I would like to hear from you if you are one of the normally a chat room hooligan, but can't because this is during work hours now for 3/4 of the country. And if your work blocks IRC, block ports 6666 and 6667, if you would like this chat room to be in Slack instead, let me know. I'm kind of playing around with the idea. It's a little different than IRC. You got to get invitations, all that kind of stuff. For you guys, I'll figure it out, though. But let me know if that's something you guys are interested in, moving the chat room to Slack, because I'm a man of the people. And if that's what you guys want, that's what we'll do. All right. Now, today we're going to start out. Now, obviously, there was a huge SharePoint event last Wednesday, 5 days ago, and I've got a ton to talk about there. But I've got a couple of non-SharePoint, very self-centered, self-indulgent things to talk about first. And so I'm going to do that because this is my show, damn it. My name is in the title and everything, so you got to put up with that. The first one is something that I've been wanting to tell you guys about for a month and a half ish or so. As you guys see, I got the flag back here. It says Principal Architect. That is my job title at Rackspace. Rackspace has a really good program. That is one of the things that I really liked about Rackspace when I came on board 4 years ago. It is called the TCT, or Technical Career Track. And it is a program at Rackspace, and many other technology companies have this, Intel and Microsoft, notably. The Technical Career Track, or TCT, at Rackspace is a way for technical rackers, such as myself, to continue to be technical, but to be able to get promotions and advance inside of the company. In most companies, if you're a very technical racker, you do whatever your technical thing is, being an admin or programming or whatever your poison is. And to advance in the company, you do that, and then you get promoted to where you don't do that anymore. And instead of doing the thing you're really good at, you watch over other people who do the thing that you're really good at, and they may or may not do it as well as you do. But if you don't want to become a manager, then you have no other options for advancement. Then you get bored and you go someplace else, and nobody likes that. So a bunch of these tech companies have created these technical career tracks. So like at Microsoft, it's the Fellow program, things like that, for technical rackers, that gives them a way to advance their career without being in charge of people. And when I came into Rackspace 4 years ago with the SharePoint 911 acquisition, that was part of what I wanted to do. So they brought us all down to San Antonio. They told us the thing. And I said, I want to do that other thing. I don't ever want to be in charge of people. And trust me, people don't ever want me to be in charge of them. But I want to do this technical career track thing. And so that's where I've been for the 4 years that I've been at Rackspace. In Rackspace, there are 3 levels of this: Principal, Distinguished, and Fellow. And also at Rackspace, the way that it's figured out is they try to cap it at 1% of the population at Rackspace. So there's 6,500 people at Rackspace roughly, and there's 60 some TCT rackers, so about 1%. So I've been doing that for the last 4 years, and it has been a good thing, and I've really enjoyed it. But about a year ago, 8 months ago or so, I said, being a principal architect is kind of a good time, and I'm digging it, and I'm liking it, and I think I'm doing a good job. But you know what I really want to be when I grow up? I want to be a distinguished architect. And at that point at Rackspace, there were 4 distinguished architects, and it was a pretty tough thing to do. So there's a nomination package you have to put together. My packet, when I got all done with it, was 13 pages, documenting all different sorts of things. They've got a bunch of metrics, and you have to give examples of how you meet these metrics. And not, hey, I'm a really big deal in the community. You have to give quantifiable examples of how you're a big deal in the community. And you can't just say, I contribute to other business units. You have to give stories of how you've contributed to other business units. It's a very, very in-depth thing. You have to get letters of recommendation. I ended up getting 10 or so. I also learned a very valuable thing that I would have not thought to be the case before. Turns out the number of people who will write you a letter of recommendation is not the same number of people who say they will write you a letter of recommendation. So I was a little surprised by that. I had a couple of people that, as this process was going out, they're like, oh yeah, I'd love to. And then when it came right down to it, that was not able to get that to happen. Turns out part of that is because writing letters of recommendation is pretty miserable work. And so after I realized this, and I started helping out with that a little bit. So I had 13 pages of stuff. I had 10 letters of recommendation that I had to submit, covering different things. They couldn't all just say, Todd's a great guy, you should promote him. It was all very important. And the final step, if I made it that far, was I had to do a one-on-one interview with the CEO of Rackspace and the CTO of Rackspace. So the CEO is Taylor Rhodes, the CTO is John Engates, and I basically had to spend an hour with the two of them explaining why they need to promote me. And that meeting happened Monday, March 28th. So that was one of the days that I was gone a while back, and had to do that with them. So I was not too worried about it. I mean, I felt like I had a pretty good shot at it. I met the metrics. I was not nervous about talking to John and Taylor at all, and it went pretty well. And it has taken, 6 weeks or whatever it is for the official word to come out, but I got the promotion. I'm in. So now I am the 5th distinguished architect or distinguished engineer at Rackspace. And that became official last week. So that's pretty cool. What that means for my job, we're still kind of figuring out, because the way that it works inside of Rackspace, if you are a TCT Rack or a principal architect, like I was 2 weeks ago, you're at the director level inside of Rackspace. The distinguished level TCT Racker, which I am now, is vice presidential level at Rackspace. And so that means my scope is a little higher now. I can't play with SharePoint all day long and be considered a vice president. So that's continuing to change. So that may end up changing the things I talk about on this podcast, because it's the things that I do during the day. But anyway, it has been a huge thing that like I said, I've been planning to do this for 8 months. I've been working on this process for 8 months, and then it took 6 weeks after I actually did the last piece to get the word out. So that was very cool. So that's one of the big things. So I will be getting a new flag at some point, I assume, that will say distinguished architect and not principal architect. But so that was a good time. Highly recommended. Getting promoted. And it's funny. So I've been in this industry 20 some years, and I think it's the first time I've actually gotten an in-place promotion. I think every other promotion that I've gotten in my career was because I changed jobs or, changed company or something like that. I think this is the first time I've been in place and I've said, you guys should promote me. And they actually did. So that was pretty cool. So self-indulgent thing number 1 out of the way. The second cool thing that happened to me last week, I talked to you guys a little bit about several months ago also, back in November. So in November, if you guys remember, the week before Thanksgiving, my wife and I and our daughters went out to Hollywood for a couple of days. And we went out there to see the walkthrough of a show that my kids watch on the Disney Channel called Casey Undercover. So my daughters are 8 and 6, and they love a bunch of the Disney Channel shows. And I happen to know through SharePoint the husband of one of the executive producers. So Rob Lauterstein, I'm not sure which it is the executive producer of Casey Undercover. I know his husband, Phil, from way back in the day. So like in 2008, 2009, Phil saw me and Shane do a session at Dev Intersections in Vegas, or Dev Connections at that point. and Phil works for Paul Mitchell, and we ended up doing some SharePoint stuff for him. And Phil and I have stayed close since then. So earlier this summer, or last summer, I guess now, I was emailing Phil about some stuff, and he's like, hey, they're going to start filming the next season of Casey Undercover. In the fall, you should bring the family out. We'll get you on set. We'll let you, hang out with the cast, let you watch a walkthrough and all that kind of stuff. You should do that. So he talked me into it, silver-tongued devil that he is. And we went out the week before Thanksgiving last year. That episode finally aired last night on Mother's Day. The name of the episode is The Truth Hurts. And so it was cool for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's cool because we were familiar with it. So I've got, scripts from it, and actually I put them away, but got scripts from it, and the kids had a blast. And I've got pictures of the kids all over the set and the kids hanging with the cast. And it was just a cool thing that I am immensely appreciative that Phil let me do for my family, because it was just a good time. My kids loved it. But what was even funnier was a second piece that I wasn't able to tell you guys about until right now. So when we got on the lot, it was the Disney lot right on in Hollywood there. And one of Rob's assistants came and met us at the gate and took us in and handed us all copies of the script. So my wife and I, my daughter, my 8-year-old, my 6-year-old. My 8-year-old is Lily. And so the first thing he did was give us like a tour of the office building. Here's Rob's office, blah, blah, blah. And then took us up to the writer's room. And the writer's room is like every writer's room you've seen in every bad TV show or movie. It's a long room, table, a bunch of people around it, whiteboards, notes and stuff everywhere. And while we're walking in the hall and stuff, I told my kids, this is people's place of work. Be respectful, be excited, but it's their place of work. So as we're walking down the hall, my 8-year-old Lily's like, Daddy, Daddy, Daddy. And I'm like, hush. Grown people talking. We get into the writer's room, and I'm like, by the way, I realize I haven't introduced myself. My name's Todd. This is my wife, Jill. My daughter's Lily. My daughter, Penny. And one of the writers is like, you're Todd? I'm like, yeah, I'm Todd. She's like, Todd Klindt? I'm like, yeah, I'm Todd Klindt. And the whole room erupts. I'm like, it's Todd Klindt. They're all like, Todd Klindt. No way, Todd Klindt. Obviously, that was not expected. Phil is kind of a joker, and so I could have seen Phil priming the room and saying, this Todd guy thinks he's kind of a big deal. So if you could make fun of him when he comes in, that would be awesome. And, and mock him and make him act like you think he's a big deal. So I thought that's what they were doing. So they're like, Todd Klindt. And so I'm playing along, and I'm like, I expect a little fanfare when I walk into a room. I don't think that's too much to ask. You guys kind of missed the mark when we came in, but you've more than made up for it. So all is forgiven. You guys are great. And we all have a big laugh. Ha. And we finish the tour. So as we're leaving the office building and walking over to the actual set, we're walking across the parking lot, and Lily's like, Daddy, Daddy. And she's pulling on my pant leg. I'm like, what? What do you want? And she's holding the script in her hand. And she's like, your name's in this script. I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, your name is in the script. So I'm looking at the list of the cast in the script, and sure enough, one of the characters' names is Todd Klindt. So Phil had them name a character after me, and that's why when all of the cast, the writers realized that my name was Todd Klindt, they realized who I was named after, and they got all excited. So you can't make it out very well here. Let me bring it in here. And for those of you that are listening to the recording, I'll make this a little better. But right here, this character's name is Todd Klindt. If you look in the menu, you probably can't see that. Never mind. So I'll put it in the thing. But yeah, one of the characters in the episode's name is Todd Klindt. So that's pretty cool. The actor that played the part is Mike McCafferty. He's kind of a small actor, but if you saw the movie Idiocracy at the beginning, the general with the mustache, that's him. So he portrayed the character of Todd Klindt in the episode. And if you watch the episode, and if you've got Disney Channel through your cable provider or anything, you can get into the app and you can watch 3 runs. But if they say it once, and it's really, we had to look for it. There's a scene where Zendaya, the main character, she goes and meets the character Todd Klindt, and she says, well, hello, Mr. Todd Klindt, blah, 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 blah. And then if you look in the credits at the end, it says, Todd Klindt, Mike McCafferty. So that is just super cool. Now, for those of us, and probably most everybody here in this deal, in the corporate world, we have these, team building things and all that. Then every once in a while, you have to come up with a crazy fact about yourself. So I'm pretty boring as a general rule, but I've got a couple of these facts. I've got a black belt, and that's uncommon. And then I've got the Smokey and the Bandit car. And so that's one of them. But now I have another interesting trivia fact about myself. There is a Disney character named after me. That's right, this guy. Um, so it was it was kind of a cool deal. And the actor Mike McCafferty. So we went to Disneyland the next day, and then the following day we flew out. And I'm checking Facebook, and I get this friend request from Mike McCafferty, the actor. And so I'm talking to my wife. I'm like, I got this friend request from Mike McCafferty. How does he know who I? Oh Jesus, he played my name on the. Oh Jesus, that's how he knows who I am. So it was pretty cool, and he's been in touch. We've been chatting for the whole 6 months since all this happened. So very cool. Not a lot of people get that opportunity. SharePoint does it again. It was all because of SharePoint. So thanks to my buddy Phil Oster. He's a great guy, and he definitely gave me some great experiences there. My dad game is tough to beat right now. That was a pretty cool one. And my kids got like autographed. One of the actresses gave one of my daughters her script, and so it's signed and autographed. It has all her blocking notes and everything. And it was pretty fun, and it was fun to watch it last night. So that was self-indulgent thing number 2. Now we'll get on to the stuff you guys actually care about, the things that you actually came here to talk about, and that is SharePoint. So the first SharePoint thing to talk about is Office Online Server is now available on MSDN, and you can go get that. If you got an MSDN subscription, you can go out and get that now. I got the link in here, but you can also check it in the show notes. This is the new version, the 2016 version of Office Web Apps, and it did not come out on 3.14 when SharePoint 2016 came out. The Office Online Server did not come out with that. And so now we've got the Office Online Server. So you might ask yourself, do I need this? Is this something I should care about? Absolutely, positively something you should care about. So again, it is the latest version of the Office web apps. So this is Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, and all that in the browser. These first came out with SharePoint 2010, and they were kind of cool. Kind of a gimmick, kind of cool. In SharePoint 2013, they were pretty cool. In 2016, they're indispensable, I would say, for a couple of reasons. The first being that it gives you in-browser versions of your things, but they show up in all kinds of places. It's not just you click a document and you can edit it in the browser. It gives you the ability to search through documents and search results. It gives you the ability to thumb through documents in just your document libraries, all that. Great functionality. The other thing is they have righted a wrong that has persisted in SharePoint for a couple of versions now, and is that the decision, the Sophie's choice you had to make between Excel services and the Excel web app. In SharePoint 2013 and in SharePoint 2010, if you wanted to use Excel services, and that's the web part that does Excel-y things inside of the web part, if you wanted to use those and have the Office web apps, you had to tell SharePoint Excel-y things go to Excel services, and then you couldn't use the Excel web app with documents, and that was a very sad state of affairs. That was the old days. That was SharePoint 2010, SharePoint 2013, dark days where SharePoint was still on a tablet, dinosaurs ruled the earth, and fire had yet to be invented. Now with SharePoint 2016, they have fixed that. They've taken Excel services out of SharePoint and put it into the Office Online Server. So now there's no more Sophie's choice. Now you can do Excel services and Excel Server with the Office Online Services server. So you want that. You want it because of its functionality. You want it because of the Excel services, and now you can use them both, and you don't have to pick, and it's very easy. The other thing to keep in mind about the Office Online Server is it's its own product, and that means that it's not just a SharePoint thing. If you've got Exchange 2016 in your company, or you're going to have Exchange 2016, you either already have the Office Online Server and you don't know it, or your Exchange folks are going to need it, and you might as well run it. You might as well be that person. If you have Skype for Business, you will probably need the Office Online Server. You can even hook the Office Online Server up to file shares. It's an open standard called WOPI, W-O-P-I, which is just the most hysterical name standard ever. I love WOPI. It reminds me of that computer in war games, Whopper. But the thing is, if you're at Microsoft Shop, there's just a bunch of different services that are going to use the Office Online Server. And so if you don't want to stand one up, talk to your Exchange folks, talk to your Skype for Business folks. They might have one. If they don't have one, stand one up. Be that guy or that gal that owns that and has that available for your other teams. And it scales well. It's really easy. It's kind of an ephemeral thing, so it's not tough to get going. Brian Lawland said thinks it should be pronounced Wapee, I guess with the emphasis on the end. And Lori Gowan says she tries to pronounce it to rhyme with hoppy, which I guess the same way, though I would have said floppy or sloppy or some other funnier word. But however you pronounce it, Wapee is there. The cool thing about that is it's an open standard. So obviously the Office Online Server is a Wapee server. And anything that can speak that can use it. So you could write your own web application kind of things and they could consume that. But you could also write your own Wapee server and point other things from SharePoint or whatever into that. So it's pretty cool stuff. So you want to grab that off MSDN if you can, throw that into a VM somewhere and make all that happen. Okay, finally, there was a little thing last week, little shindig, a little get together. Laura Rogers, she's in the chat room now. She was there with me. Jason Himmelstein was there. Randy Driscoll, another one of my coworkers, and about 150 of our closest SharePoint friends. We all got together. I was fortunate enough to get invited out to San Francisco to attend the Future of SharePoint event in person. And it was as exciting and amazing as you would expect it to be. I have an upcoming blog post that I have yet to write that will cover a bunch of things and have some pictures. But it was a good time. And hopefully a bunch of you watched it online. I know Lori did. I know some other people did. I live tweeted it. I hate live tweeting. I hate live blogging. It irritates the hell out of me. And I've never done it before. And for this event, I would... I agreed to do it, and apparently I am not in the majority when it comes to hating live tweeting, because I got a whole bunch of interaction with you guys that were watching it and not watching it on Twitter. So I may have to reconsider my harsh militant stance against live tweeting, but it was great. So on Twitter, they were using the hashtag, the Future of SharePoint, and it had, I think, so Jason Himmelstein and John White set up some BI stuff around that using Power BI. And I think they had 10,000 tweets in an hour and a half, 2 hours. It was trending on Twitter. It was huge. Now, Joanne Klein mentions that she actually stayed off of Twitter for that. One of the things, because I'm very sensitive to this, for whatever reason, I pick up on this stuff. Every one of my tweets was tagged with #Future of SharePoint, and I use TweetDeck, and I assume now that it's only the web version, you can still do it. But there is muting settings in there, yeah. And so if people start live tweeting crap that I don't care about, I just go into the mute in TweetDeck, and I just mute the hashtag. So that helps me. That lets them do the thing they want to do without annoying me. So I will always, if I'm going to do, Twitter vomiting like that, or vomiting of Twitter, I will try to give a hashtag so you can filter it out. But it was a pretty good event. I had a great time. Now we'll get to some of the SharePoint stuff in a minute, but first I have to talk about my favorite part, and that was the swag. So for all of us that were in attendance there that got invited, we got a bunch of cool things. So one of them was this stylish SharePoint jacket. SharePoint jacket, you say? Right there on the arm. SharePoint. So I was talking in the chat room with Joanne about how I was wearing horizontal stripes with horizontal stripes. This is why, Joanne, I was not wearing this all day. I just put this on like 2 minutes before I turned the camera on and then realized the horizontal stripes. But very stylish jacket here. So SharePoint on the sleeve. Definitely enjoyed that. So this all came from a bag that we got. Very stylish messenger bag here. It's got Velcro. Everybody likes Velcro. Pockets and things inside, and a very, very stylish thing for holding tablets or, delivering newspapers, whatever you do. Not only was the jacket inside, but since it was May 4th, Star Wars Day, they threw little Lego Star Wars guys in here. And it's not just any Lego Star Wars guys. It's the ones with the LED lights, and you can kind of see Boba Fett's leg shine up. And so they gave us all They gave us all little different Star Wars characters. That is the coolest thing ever. Now, I know that you are like, it couldn't have gotten any better than that. It's just impossible. Well, it wasn't Microsoft that did it, but it did get put over the edge. I apologize. I'm probably breaking some podcasting faux pas, but I want to show you something else. Ben Nalen, the obnoxious YouTube whore from ShareGate, also brought a whole box of ShareGate socks. And so I now am the proud owner of ShareGate socks. So you can see them. They are a lovely color of orange, uglier orange, and white. And then they have the little ShareGate, and I don't even know which way is correct, ShareGate logo on them. And where's the thing? So they come in a little thing, managing SharePoint Never socks with ShareGate. So that is what my that's what my day was, and it was pretty great. So thanks to Ben for that. I was not expecting to get ugly socks, but I did. Got the jacket, got the bag, got the LED light Boba Fett. So I was good at that event, and they fed us some food that wasn't horrible, little chocolate cakes. So, but besides that, what happened? I know you're all like, well, great. Now we know what what crap you got. What did they actually say? For those of you that watched it, and I think it's been recorded, I think you can watch it. It was a very exciting event. Microsoft had a bunch of people. It was 2 hours of just nonstop SharePoint greatness. Now, I will admit that all the demos and that they did was SharePoint Online, but they did talk significantly about SharePoint On-Prem. And they made it very, very clear multiple times that Microsoft is committed to SharePoint On-Prem. They said it, and they meant it. They demonstrated it. And I know for those of us who've been in the SharePoint gig for a while, there was some downtimes. 3 or 4 years ago, we were all kind of worried about the future. I am no longer worried about the future of SharePoint, not even a little bit. So one of the things that they did is they talked about a bunch of stuff, and I've kind of got this in a rotten order here, so I should have reordered it. But they showed a bunch of things. Again, they didn't just say it, they meant it. They did it. One of the things that they announced is there will be a SharePoint well, so we'll be back up before that. In Office 365, you've got the app launcher up in the top left over here. And right now, that's how you get into your admin center and Sway and Delve and all those kind of things. And it's got a launching point there for a thing called Sites, which is kind of sad, kind of generic. And Jeff Teeper, who is like the godfather of SharePoint, came back to the SharePoint fold about a year and a half ago, and really gave the SharePoint product a shot in the arm, really reinvigorated it. And one of the things that he decided early on was that square that says Sites damn well should say SharePoint instead. And so they announced that in Office 365, in the app launcher, that Sites tile is going to soon say SharePoint. And to reiterate the fact that SharePoint is the engine of collaboration. I think that was one of the phrases that he used a bunch. So they changed that. They announced that they are going to be releasing soon a SharePoint client for phones and tablets, a SharePoint app. And that SharePoint app will let you get into your SharePoint 365, SharePoint Online stuff, and SharePoint On-Prem. The plot thickens. Yeah, they didn't explain a lot of how that mechanism will work, but the SharePoint client on your phone will let you get into your on-prem SharePoint. Will support all that. They showed some improvements that they're going to be making or are making to the OneDrive client. And these were things that they actually showed. It wasn't screenshots. It was live demos. They aren't released yet. You can't go into the app stores and buy them without being in the tap or whatever. But they're not, it wasn't slides, it wasn't PowerPoint, it was actually people touching it, things like that. So new OneDrive client that has all kinds of great functionality. And it is a client that will work with all the different OneDrives, all 8 or 10 OneDrives. So we're talking OneDrive Consumer, OneDrive for Business and Office 365, and OneDrive for Business SharePoint On-Prem. And it was things like you can pin documents in order. So when you go to OneDrive, you can actually see the documents that you care about, things like that, all kinds of easy upload and download, all that kind of stuff. All of the demos that they did were out of SharePoint Online, were out of Office 365. I made a very conscientious effort every time a URL popped up to see what the URLs were, and they were all, SharePoint.com, things like that. But one of the things that they talked about was, and Blake Olson just asked about it in the chat room. Blake just asked, are all of these updates to on-prem going to be included in the next CU of 2016? Not exactly, but thanks for the tee up, Blake. I appreciate that. They announced a new thing with SharePoint 2016, a thing called feature packs. And feature packs will be free to customers that have software assurance for SharePoint. And feature packs will come out, and I don't remember if they said how periodically, but they will come out periodically, and they will be a bundle of all the new functionality that they've been testing in Office 365 and SharePoint Online. So you'll see things in SharePoint Online that you like, and then a feature pack will come out and it will add that functionality to SharePoint on-prem. And that will be independent of the CUs, the cumulative updates and all that. And hopefully they'll be able to work the dependencies out so you can install those separately and not have to worry about what CU you're on, things like that. I don't know. But again, those will be free to software assurance people. And so one of the examples that they gave, I can't remember, they gave one example of one of the things that's in SharePoint Online now that will be in the feature pack, and I absolutely forgot what it was. Should have put it in my notes. And it might have been the document library thing, I forget. But another thing they demonstrated was the new document libraries, the improved document libraries, where you can do things like pin documents inside of the document library and move things around, manage metadata by dragging documents around, all kinds of things like that. So between seeing the apps in person and seeing the things around feature packs and all that, I am convinced that that Microsoft is, they're in it. They know that SharePoint on-prem is going to be around for the next long while. So last week in the chat room, Don, who's back this week, and I assume it's the same Don, he asked after the show was over, I think we were chatting after the show, and he said, "Why is on-prem SharePoint still even around? Why do we even care about this?" There's a lot of different reasons for that. You can ask any number of companies that have on-prem SharePoint why they continue to have on-prem SharePoint. You're going to get a variety of answers. Some of it is regulatory things like our friends to the north in Canada. They have rules around what kind of data can exist inside of the country and outside of the country. And if they've got an on-prem SharePoint, they can control it. If they put it in Rackspace or Office 365, they lose control of where that data is at. Germany's the same way, heavy data sovereignty laws. So that's one reason. Other reasons are third-party compliance things. So not necessarily governmental things, but other things. There's other, I talked to a company that, so this was another fun one, not the same thing, but they brought two companies up to demonstrate and talk about SharePoint. One of them was a store out of the UK, M&S. The other one was a construction company just south of here in Kansas City, J.E. Dunn. And the cool thing about J.E. Dunn, so they had J.E. Dunn up there talking about how great their SharePoint was. I installed J.E. Dunn's first SharePoint farm in SharePoint 2010, like 6 years ago. So it was great to hook up with those guys. I didn't realize they were going to be one of the guest folks up there. But was talking to different afterwards, and I talked to the J.E. Dunn guys and talked to other people out there. And one of the people I was asking why they still had on-prem SharePoint, why they couldn't host or do Office 365, was because they hosted other, some of their customers' data, and those customers had concerns about where data was. And so imagine if you were a competitor of Microsoft's and you were working with a construction company or whoever, and they were going to be storing your data in Microsoft's data centers, you might have some rules around that. So there's just all kinds of things. Some people just like the controls. Some people don't like to be dependent on their internet connection, things like that. There's a lot of different reasons, but whatever a company's reason for keeping on-prem SharePoint, it looks like there's going to be a lot of on-prem SharePoint left. Many years, major versions coming out, feature packs, all that. It's a great time to be in SharePoint. And again, I've got a blog post that I'm trying to write that will have all the things that got me excited about that. But it was a very exciting day. Thanks to Microsoft for letting me come out there and crash your party. It was a great time. Thanks for the bag and the Lego guy and the flashy coat. Makes me a snappy dresser. Mark Chrisman brings up a good point about on-prem SharePoint. Server-side code, full trust code. That's another one. There are just some things that you can't do. And they talked about, so Lori brings up an interesting point in the chat room that 70% of businesses will be hybrid. I agree, and hybrid is the way to go now. You don't have to choose on-prem or in the cloud. I think hybrid is great, and I think as Office 365 matures and gets more features to it, that hybrid needle is going to shift back and forth. I don't know. It's just a great time. We've got a lot of options, and I'm pretty excited about it. So there will be more stuff about that coming out, but 2016 is here. We're out there. We're doing it. When it comes to feature packs and CUs and all of that, I am keeping track of all of that on my blog. So you can go to toddklindt.com/SP2016 builds, and I've got a new format for all of that, and we'll keep track of all those, so you can keep track of that. And I've also got a Twitter account for that. I think it's at SP2016 builds. You can follow that. And as CUs and feature packs and all that come out, we'll keep you abreast. All right, so I try to keep this to half an hour every week. I'm going to fail miserably this week. I apologize for that. And that we'll jump to the part at the end here that everybody loves, shameless self-promotion. So for this week, not a lot of difference in shameless self-promotion. Going to be speaking at the Oklahoma City SharePoint user group at some point. I'm not sure if it's next month or the month after, but I got to get a hold of Bruce and find out about that. But I'll be talking about SharePoint with SharePoint Online with PowerShell, Office 365, PowerShell, all that kind of stuff. That is a topic I've been doing a lot lately. Really enjoying it. That's kind of my new frontier. That and identity. It's been a lot of fun. Then next month, oh my God, I can't believe it's next month, SP TechCon out in Boston. You can go to sptechcon.com and find out about that. I will be doing the same session, PowerShell with SharePoint Online, and I will be doing configuring Active Directory, Azure Active Directory, or configuring Active Directory replication with Azure AD. Too many A words and D words, and oh my goodness. I'll be doing those sessions and just hanging around, being a pest at SP TechCon. If you're going to be there, give me a shout. And I would love to chat with you a bit. And then in October 27th to 28th, I will be speaking at the SharePoint Exchange Forum, affectionately known as SEF, in Stockholm, Sweden. One of my favorite conferences every year. Jorn Huseman, good friend of mine, puts that on, does an outstanding job with that. I love going to Stockholm in the fall for SEF. So looking forward to that. Got a few other things going on. Ignite's going to be happening in September. One way or the other, I will get myself to Ignite. If I have to hitchhike and sneak in through a ventilation shaft or something, I'll be at Ignite. You can bet on that. So I think that's everything, everybody. Chat room, hooligans, stick around for a bit. I'll be hanging out with you guys. Everybody else, I will see you next week with more great SharePoint news. As always, if you've got any ideas for things I should talk about or anything like that, you can email me, todd.klindt@rackspace.com, or hit me up on Twitter @ToddKlindt. Thanks, everybody. See you next week.